Brandon,
Anyone
are you
else coming in?
circumcised?
Or is it-
Huh?
Random circumcised.
Is Brandon?
Is he
Brandon, what?
circumcised?
Why would
Probably.
you want to know that, mate?
I
want to know.
I
I
tried to
wanna know
learn
if
the
16-year-olds
ways of the
getting some
Maltese
good-
Who
militia.
said that?
Josh,
Hmm?
why have you fucking got goggles on?
Alright, I asked him the same thing.
fucking hell.
Brandon,
Backhouse is
Sorry.
joining.
Brandon.
Can we get back on?
Alright, let's get started then before Backhouse gets in.
Can we just say that, like, yeah, we might
Brandon.
be relaxed with Kit, but fucking hell, mate. Try not over.
It's a game.
I mean,
Okay.
that poofter there is
Brandon,
fucking
which,
jumping.
Brandon, which do the kids prefer?
Like some of the people have PRRs.
It's not like we're doing much. We
Brandon,
just sat here for like an
can
hour
you
and a
shout?
half
We can't hear
looking
you.
at this.
Hey,
Alright, Brandon, you are starting in 1 minute, otherwise it's digging into your time. Top
Brandon,
shag.
are you
Right,
are
we're
you
getting
instructed
Backhouse in.
today?
Love it.
Because I know the backhouse is going to intervene, trust me.
Well,
Is your-
okay, you
Hi,
can
guys.
do what you want, mate, but at fucking 10-2, we're done.
Brandon, are you instructed
Oh,
today,
yeah.
pal?
Yes.
Oh really?
You're not.
I'm looking at the register. You are, pal. You should go put some evacs on, mate.
The beef, innit?
Got him there.
Right, mug them off.
7 o'clock, Brandon.
Go.
7 o'clock, mate.
Go.
Oh, get your
Right,
animation, mate.
is my microphone good? Do you hear any, like, fan noises?
No, you
No,
need
mate.
to shout.
No.
shout,
I hear an
everyone's
idiot.
going
Let me get
yelling.
into... Sharp, mate.
You
increase your volume.
Yep.
Once, this is why you got bullied at school.
Hold on. Let me get into a sexy animation, yeah?
Just turn up your
Oh,
volume.
God.
Stop.
Can you stand in the middle so we
Oh.
can all hear you?
What you did
Tell
to
us
impress
the
your
podcast
girlfriend,
about
Brandon?
everyone
Oh,
else.
just fucking
Mate,
smart.
shut up.
Jesus Christ.
Where's this animation?
Oh my god.
It's number 10.
Oh,
Let me put my
no.
fucking thing on silent.
You?
Okay,
My
go,
fault.
go.
Hold on,
Right,
let me
right,
mute
everyone
myself.
just
Oh, God.
turn your mics all the way down so we don't hear your fucking noise.
Yeah, we'll just move myself somewhere in the front, yeah? That's good.
Oh my god, it looks like such fucking.
Sharp call. Right, anyway, Sharp. Let us start. Grab this fucking thing.
Backhouse, sit down.
Yep, that's what I meant, by the way, yeah? Right, anyway. Sit down. Right, introduction. Welcome to the deployment brief of Operation Scorpion. Today I will be explaining every detail that I can provide for this operation to ensure everyone is ready and well prepared for the first official deployment. I, as the company commander, will be guiding and commanding this operation and will ensure that everyone understands and abides by every single standard operating procedure so that every member will know what to do after certain scenarios or actions and prevent confusion, arguments, and any negative impacts. I advise all personnel that deployment is not like any other trainings we have done before, and therefore all SOPs will be strictly enforced as every action will have a consequence and an outcome in the end, which can either negatively or positively impact the operation. Pre-deployment training has us all well prepared and trained for what is about to unfold in the upcoming operation phases. Standard operating procedures. In case of any crashing in deployment, we're going to have a persistent save system. When you disconnect, you will have a menu to the right of your regular menu with a button called Player Exit, which will save your loadout and location. If you experience a crash, your character won't save. So if you have a few seconds before you crash, grab the opportunity and player save as soon as possible.
I
the
can't
fuck's-
move my head, and it's just I don't know.
For fuck's sake!
Double tap Alt.
Yeah, I think he knows that.
You just fucked the whole brief. You're gonna
We're
have a
gonna
lot
be,
of cutting,
we're gonna
lads.
be here for fucking ages if anything just carries on.
Shut
Just
up,
like
I'll
fucking
fucking continue.
square
If
it
you
away.
do not save in time, then you will load the last save you previously were in and at the start of the operation and will be handed with by Company HQ. Exploiting a main base object. Exploiting an object such as an arsenal locker with an unlimited gear, which also cannot be destroyed, is prohibited and will result in disciplinary action if found doing the action. Death due to engine physics. Death due to a bug or glitch will be redeemed by Company HQ and will be teleported back to your original position. General death. When death occurs due to enemy, upon respawn, the member will wait at the base for reinsertion via a member with a vehicle. There will be no teleportation or reinserts with AI. Disciplinary action. Disciplinary action will be taken harshly to the nature of official deployments. Chain of command will be dealing with their own individual sections and platoons. However, if any serious offenses occur, then Company HQ and legal affairs will likely step in. Disciplinary actions will also include temporary or permanent suspension from official operations, from attending them. Enemy capture. In the event of a successful capture by the enemy, the member is to abide by the enemy's actions, such as to wear an item or any other interactions due to the Arma not having the ability to force interact with a detained player. This does not include verbal interaction. While in captivity, if the player attempts to commit suicide via Arma's engine physics, they will be teleported back to their position. An attempt to escape captivity is allowed. However, if killed in the process, you will be teleported back to your place of captivity again. The enemy may or may not attempt to reinforce their place of captivity for the prevention for further escape attempts. A live database. Some may or may not know that we are going to be utilizing a database to persist players, inventory, vehicles, and other objects. A small tutorial on how to persist your player and the objects around you is as follows, yeah? To player save, don't hit the normal abort button. Instead, click the save player button on the menu on the right, which is the alive menu. Some objects are not able to persist. Therefore, I will be manually assessing these objects. So we have removed this database, so we're going to be manually saving it via SQF. Side and global chat, very important. Side chat is to never be used in operations. Every single member has me added on Steam and can properly contact me there. There is absolutely no need to clutter the chat, as it is a big downside to the immersion factor. I will be quite busy on the operation, so please be patient, as most of the time you won't expect a fast reply. Your second option is to contact the CSM on Steam or Discord, which is obviously Warrant Officer Plum behind me. Next slide. On September 11, 2001, the US was attacked by Al Qaeda with a series of plane hijacks that crashed into multiple buildings in the state of New York, two of which were the famous World Trade Centers and the Pentagon that took multiple lives. On the 7th of October 2001, the US and NATO countries declared the war on terror on the Taliban and Al Qaeda and invaded Afghanistan. 18 years of war would commence that would lead to a massive structural damage, years without a stable government, and massive amounts of fighting and deaths. The United Kingdom and other NATO countries withdrew from the conflict 2013. ISAF disbanded 2014. The Taliban insurgency increased, and on 2015, the Taliban resurged and started attacking again, which led to the creation of the Resolute Support Mission, RSM, a NATO organization that has over 13,000 troops in Afghan. The year is 2020. The US and the Taliban, after months of negotiations, have agreed to sign a peace deal to eventually stop violence in Afghanistan. The peace deal was eventually signed on the 5th of January 2020, and since then peace has settled in throughout the country. On the 1st of March 2020, the peace was shattered when a governmental building in Kabul was raided by Taliban, which killed 2 politicians. This sparked outrage amongst the Afghan people and NATO, which led to the termination of the peace deal. There has been claims that the Taliban, toward the peace deal, have been consolidating and plan to retaliate to finally take over Afghan's government. Afghanistan has requested assistance from the NATO Security Council. The United Kingdom has been tasked to deploy as a multinational task force to Afghanistan in order to repel the Taliban resurgence and support governmental authority. The United Kingdom will deploy alongside the United States, which will be assisting the Afghan National Army. On the 7th of March 2020, in-game date, the 5th Battalion Rifles will move to area for Krotiri before taking a flight to Afghanistan. On the 8th of March 2020, 5 rifles will occupy Fob Solitude, located in the Musa Qala district in Helmand province, Afghanistan. Next slide. Operation Achilles is the NATO multinational task force strategic campaign plan that is situated in Helmand province. It is a set of 3 operations in the districts of Musa Qala, Sengan, and Kajaki. In these districts, the task force will be conducting counterinsurgency operations to locate and remove the Taliban from the area. These are the 3 set of phases that we're going to be doing throughout the campaign. It's going to be split into 3 operations within a massive operation campaign. Next slide. Afghanistan is comprised mostly of Middle Eastern desert, including deserts, villages and towns, flat ground, hills, mountains and valleys, farmland and fields. The weather is almost sunny with a low chance of rain and storms. The season is going to be spring and temperatures are going to be between 20 to 35 Celsius. Highway 5 is the ring road that circles around and into the heart of Musa Qala district. It is a main road which is used by many locals throughout the region due to it being the only paved road. Tamir River is a large dry riverbed that crosses the map from west to east. Musa Qala is the main town of the district and is located in the middle of the map. Kassadar is a large ANA forward operating base. Next slide. The Taliban. The Taliban are a Sunni Islamic fundamentalist political movement and military organization in Afghanistan currently waging war and insurgency or jihad within the country. That the Taliban forces are fighting against the Afghan government, formerly led by President Hamid Karzai, now led by President Ashraf Ghani, and against the US-led coalition International Security Assistance Force. The Taliban conduct low-intensity guerrilla warfare against Afghan national security forces and their NATO allies. The Taliban's main objective is to fully control Afghanistan as a government and enforce a strict interpretation of Sharia law. The Taliban have begun to flood the Musa Qala district and is already negatively impacting the region. The civilians are either in danger of losing their life and their families or forced to join the regime. They are fierce fighters and have been fighting over since the Soviet-Afghan War in the 1980s. They are experienced in guerrilla warfare and masterminds of the improvised explosive device, commonly known as the IED. Hit-and-run tactics is one of the most common strategy utilized by the Taliban to deter an armed force into retreating. IED ambushes are also common and are very lethal. They are equipped with Soviet-origin weapons left over from the previous wars, most commonly the AK-47. They can blend in very well with the civilian population due to their non-uniform nature, which will cause extreme paranoia to any coalition force fighting against them. Next slide. The Taliban's main method of attack is the infamous and improvised explosive device, known commonly as the IED. This deadly device, is extremely effective and can be hidden in plain sight. The IED can be set up and utilized in various ways, depending on the effect required. They are often used in ambushes to great effect. The IED can also be strapped to a person's chest via a vest or underneath clothing, as well as in vehicles to further increase lethality. IEDs can also be made from normal everyday objects such as propane tanks, water containers, and other household objects. Next slide. Taliban spotters. Taliban spotters are one of the most effective enemy type to gather intelligence and harass coalition forces due to the restrictions and the rules of engagement surrounding them. They are equipped with a set of binoculars and can oversee, coordinate, or any of the sort, depending on the type of tactic being used. Spotters can act as a triggerman for an IED. Mortars, ambush for a sniper, getting intelligence, etc. They can blend extremely well with the civilian population and are very mobile. Act accordingly with the rules of engagements when encountering spotters. Next slide. This is the commander. Malawi is the supreme leader of the Taliban. He was born in 1961 in Kandahar province in Afghanistan and has been serving in the Taliban since 1996. From 1996 to 2001, Malawi was appointed as a Chief Justice of the Sharia Courts of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Rather than a warlord or military commander, he has a reputation as a religious leader who was responsible for issuing most of the Taliban's fatwas and settling religious issues among members of the Taliban. Malawi was appointed as the Taliban Supreme Commander on the 25th May 2016. Next slide. We will be deploying alongside troops from the United States and the Afghan National Army/Police. The United States forces are trained in coin ops and have experience of operating in similar terrain. The task force commander intends to defeat all enemy within the AO and assist government authority. 5 Rifles Battle Group's mission is to defeat all enemy within the AO, assist the ANA and the local government authority. Next slide. Task Force Helmand, a UK-US-led coalition, is under the command of Colonel Rogers. He is responsible for directing operations within Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Under the command of Colonel Rogers are various other commanders that are attached to the task force. They will be conducting operations alongside each other to achieve the task force commander's intent. Next slide. Next slide. There you go. Situation civilians. Civilians are still in the area, living and carrying on with their daily lives. However, the Taliban are beginning to occupy and harass the villages around Musakala in order to strengthen their position in the area. The civilian population is neutral towards us, and gaining their trust and cordiality is vital to win the upcoming phases of the operation. We are relying on the populace to relay us intelligence on the movements of the enemy so that the coalition forces have the upper hand. Coalition forces are to try their utmost best to ensure all civilians are safe, cared for, and not in harm's way. Abide by the rules of engagement so that the maximum cordiality can be achieved and the tides of the operation is in coalition hands. Next slide. This is the cabinet of Afghanistan, comprised of 10 governmental ministries. They are vital that we protect them at all costs, as they are the main legal effort to establishing a better Afghanistan. Next slide. Here you can see the images of how all of the governmental ministries will look like. While we are doing governmental missions, we will be seeing them often. So it is important and vital that we can identify each one who they are. Next slide. Mission. The missions we will need to achieve to complete the first phase of the operation are: 1. Destroy all enemy installations within the AO. 2. Deter the enemy from harassing the civilian population. 3. Assist AMP and ANA forces. 4. Gain the trust of the local population. 5. Protect the town of Musakala. 6. Secure and protect Highway 5 Ring Road. 7. Disrupt any Taliban activity. 8. Aid the civilian population. 9. Kill or capture local Taliban commanders. And 10. Protect political activities, meetings, and elections. Next slide. Card Alpha. Card Alpha is the rules of engagement given to soldiers out on deployment. They are a set of standard operating procedures which every soldier must abide by to ensure minimal force is being used at all times. As you can see here on this card, it is giving you instructions on challenging, which is given when someone is approaching you and you have no idea if that person is confirmed enemy or just a regular civilian. Use of lethal force, especially section C and D, are quite important to remember. Next slide. This is the Civilian Cordiality Index, which is the relationship status between civilians and BLUFOR. Depending on what actions we do on the field, it will determine what relationship status the civilians will have towards us. The CCI, which is short for Civilian Cordiality Index, is calculated via percentage. In the middle, you have the status definitions and their percentages. On the left and right, you can see the positive and negative impacts on the cordiality depending on the action. Also note that the CCI percentage status does not affect the whole map, rather it affects the region or boundary we are operating in. We're going to have 8 different regions within the map. This does not mean that we destroy the cordiality of a region and expect the next boundary to be neutral at 50%. Depending on the end result of the cordiality when we have finished with the boundary, will determine what CCI percentage the next boundary will start with, especially if the media has put us in bad light. Yes, there will be media recording us as we go. Next slide. Cordiality regions. There are 8 cordiality regions throughout the map, as I mentioned in the previous slide. That cordiality index is determined by region. Whatever action we will do only will affect the region. However, if the action is prominent in either positive or negative ways, it can also affect the region near it slightly. Next slide. Country legislation. In the Musa Qala district of Afghanistan, there are a few rules that all of the Afghan citizens abide by on a daily basis. When any soldier from 5 Rifles encounters a rule-breaking civilian, they are to detain and await local police to take over. These legislations can also be found on the company orders, which can be found on the Discord. Next slide. Assets list. This is the list of vehicles that will be initially given to the company. These vehicles will all be in the garage area of the forward operating base we will be operating in on the deployment. The list is as follows: 5 times Warriors, 4 times GPMG Huskies, 4 times HMG Huskies, 3 Panama ROVs, 3 times quad bikes, 2 Chinooks, 2 Foxhounds, 2 Jackals HMG, 2 RWS Bulldogs, 2 Panther CLVs, 2 times men cargo trucks, 1 times fuel truck, 1 times repair truck, 1 Challenger, 1 Jackal GBMG, 1 Bulldozer, 1 Reaper, 1 Apache. Next slide. Ribbons. I know that all of you have been excited for this, and here it is. During official deployments, ribbons that are related to in-game actions activate and can be given to any personnel that meet the requirements of the ribbon. If a member gets commended by numerous members for the same action, giving the member the appropriate ribbon becomes a high possibility depending on how prominent it becomes. Next slide. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Yep.
Are we not getting any ambulances then?
Hold on, give me a sec. Let me just get out of this fucking animation. By the way, every single recording specialist can now stop recording.